Kick her butt then! Kick her butt then! Kick her butt then!
Knock for while you can, monkey boy! Listen!
Put him back on formaldehyde fake.
Welcome to Radical Chill Pill. My name is Scott and I'm here to talk about everything movies. Today our movie is Krull, the 1983 film starring a dog. The 1983 film starring Ken Marshall, a young Liam Neeson, and directed by Peter Yates. Krull is 1980s nostalgia, a mix of sci-fi and fantasy. I love this movie. I loved it as a kid. If you have not seen it, I highly suggest it. In 1977, Star Wars came out. In 1980, Empire Strikes Back came out. Obviously changed movies forever. Some people say that this is a Star Wars ripoff. I'm here to tell you this is not a Star Wars ripoff in no way, shape, or form. Absolutely not. And people who say that are crazy. Lots of planets have two suns. And in Star Wars, there's a gigantic ship that flies slow motion in the opening shot. Where in this movie, it's a gigantic fortress, not a ship. Although it is flying in space, so I guess it is a ship at the beginning, but then when it lands, it turns into a fortress. So not a ripoff. And lots of movies have princesses decked out all in white that need rescuing. And young men becoming men and learning from old mentors about secret weapons to go save the princess and fight an evil empire. So not a ripoff. The Beast and the Slayers arrive right off the bat. And based on their names, we can assume they're bad. It would kind of be funny if they weren't. You know, they like land next to a village and are like, hey, we're here to sell you flowers, and we're dressed, you know, and we're here to, you know, make vegan soups for you guys. And they're like, what's your name? They're like, we're the Slayers, and this is the Beast. But don't worry, like, we love everybody. Two rival kingdoms decide that they're going to merge to defeat the Beast and the Slayers. And luckily for them, they have two sons that are going to get married. I'm just kidding. That would be very progressive of them. But of course, like every single movie of its time, there is a girl and a boy who are like, you know, in similar ages, who love each other, but their dads hate each other, but they're gonna go with it. And, you know, you've seen it in Disney a million times. So they go to this ceremony to merge. And of course, they are interrupted by the Slayers, who are... They're storming the castle. This is one of the things. They're storming the castle on horses. Now, we've already seen them traveling through space. You're about to see them shooting laser bolts. But they have horses? Like they haven't invented vehicles, even though they're traveling in a space fortress. They don't have tanks or go-karts or Vespas. Horses. So they show up and immediately annihilate both the kingdom's guards. Also, not a ripoff. They blow up the huge door to like kind of announce their entrance, and the stormtroopers never did that. The Slayers are pretty cool. They can walk up walls. They have like I said, laser bolts in their swords. It looks like, I don't know if, you know, do they have an extra one after they shoot the one? Because they usually shoot it and then immediately go to sword fighting. It would be nice if you had more than one shot, because just like stormtroopers, they can't shoot very well. We see Slayer get killed, and there's like this worm thing that comes out of its head. And all I could think of is like... Krang from the Teenage Mutant, is it controlling a bigger body, kind of like Independence Day? Or does it, you know, I don't know. Do these worm things go back to the Black Fortress and get new bodies? Nobody knows, but it is pretty cool. And as a kid, I remember definitely, you know, oh, here comes a kill, here comes a worm, you know, it's gonna be awesome. And they make that screeching noise. The princess is kidnapped. Both kings are killed. All is lost. The prince is wounded. And luckily, Obi-Wan Ynir shows up out of nowhere to help him and teach Luke, Corvin, about this magical weapon that can help defeat the beast. So he basically, you know, says, I got nothing else to do. Let's go get this bad boy. And he climbs and climbs and climbs and climbs until he finally gets the glaive, and it is everything that we thought it would be. Although it is on the posters and everything else, I mean, you pretty much know what this thing is. It is Ninja Star meets Starfish meets Freddy Krueger's claws all in one. And you're just dying to see this thing just ripping people apart. So let's go. The adventure begins, and it is time to go on our journey. And along the way, of course, they meet a magician, a band of thieves / like bandits, a cyclops, which is awesome. I'm gonna be honest, that was one of my favorite parts as a kid, and it still, to me, holds up today. The problem is, the beast doesn't like to be snuck up on. So he has his black fortress move from place to place every day. So it's never in the same place twice. And so they have no idea where it is or where it's going to be. So the only way they can do that is they have to get a seer who will be able to look into the magic and tell them exactly where this thing is going to show up. They find an old seer and he's ready to help. So we're on our way, and next plan. Ynir comes to save the day by saying that he knows someone who can also tell them where the Black Fortress is going to show up. And that would be the Widow of the Web. And I'm already like, what? The what of the what? I'm in. The Widow of the Web, of course, turns out to be his old flame. And she is in the middle of this gigantic spider web with this huge spider. And that's kind of her punishment because apparently he left her when she was pregnant. He didn't know, in his defense. And to get back at him, she murdered their child. So now she's the Widow of the Web. This movie is so 80s and so awesome. Again, classic. See it. Ynir finds out the next location of the Black Fortress, but the price is that he and the Widow must die. And that's where you get that, Lissa! The next location is very far away, and the only way they're going to be able to get there is with fire mares. They use the fire mares to get there. They bum rush the fortress. The Cyclops sacrifices himself so they can all get in and gets crushed in the door. I remember as a kid feeling bad. I really liked the Cyclops, but they're now in and they're fighting, storming the fortress, and the merry band is getting picked off one by one. It's not looking good. Corwin battles the beast, who never really gets in focus. And finally, in the final battle of the whole movie, does he unleash the glaive? And the glaive, not only does he throw it like we thought he was, but then it starts doing this like weed whacker action, and it's coming back to him like a boomerang and stuff. And you're like, well, how's he controlling this? Or, is it the power of love, or is it the force, or what is going on? But long story short, he ends up getting the beast, and you think it's dead, but then of course it's not dead. So the glaive actually wasn't all that powerful because it just kind of wounded him. What is powerful is the power of love. He throws love fireballs at the beast. The beast burns. The Black Fortress disintegrates. They all laugh. Remember their lost ones. The world is saved. And it's prophesied that their son will one day rule the universe in a sequel 30 years down the road. Random knowledge. I was watching this movie, and again, I've seen this movie, I don't know, 25 times. And I never, ever put two and two together. I haven't probably seen it in about 3 or 4 years. And I was watching it, but actually studying it kind of this time for this review. And I looked at this guy and I go, where do I know this uniform? And it turns out that the guards' uniforms were then reused in Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure. Who would have known? It's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. The swamp. The swamp / Widow of the Web spider sequence, that whole one to the other is just, it is adventure, it is 80s, I love it, I will watch that thing, and there is quicksand and death and worms and changelings and spiders, everything. It is action-packed. Other good would be James Horner's soundtrack is amazing. This is one of, his early works, but it's fantastic, really stands out. And it also has the creepy 80s. There's that creepiness that you had, like with the black eyes or with the hand or with people getting sucked into quicksand or the worms coming out of people's heads that you just don't see today. It's all CGI, but this was like, I remember being like creeped out, but not scared, creeped out, just like, ooh, this part's coming up. There's a part in like The Last Starfighter and where the guy's like eye pops out when his visor gets knocked off. And you're like, yeah! So it's creepy, but cool. The bad. Before the Martha? Why'd you say that name? It's his mother's name. There was Lissa, which is obviously the princess's name. And when they're going to the Widow of the Web, Ynir is like, you gotta save her. And she's like, yeah, maybe. And she's like, she has a name, an ancient name, a name you know, a name you once had, or something like that. Lissa! And then she says, oh, save the girl who once had my name. So, there's that. The other thing would be the fire mares, the special effects just really never, even back then, they were like, there's a lot of special effects that hold up well in this movie. Before CGI, obviously, and stuff, but the fire mare just never really worked for me, and it just looks really dated. And I mean, I wouldn't say dated because it looked bad back then. And then the other thing, which is just always weird, is it has these beautiful, wide open landscape shots, but there's like no villages. There's not, I mean, they're just going, it's like the Lord of the Rings, but in that, they're supposed to be going through like wilderness. Here, they're like, there's like a castle and nothing, And then like, I don't know if Game of Thrones has like ruined it because you have the castle and then there's like a giant city around it. We last get to the ugly, and there's only one ugly that I know, and that is Lizette Anthony, who plays Princess Lissa. She was dubbed, she's British, she was dubbed by an American actress throughout the entire movie. I've read there's 2 different reasons, and I'm not sure which one it is. One saying she was 17 when she was cast, and they wanted a more mature sounding princess. And if that's the case, then why would you cast a 17-year-old? And 2, I read that they said they wanted an American voice because they didn't want to have a British princess. Either way, I think she's good. I would hate to be in a movie and then have my voice dubbed out by someone else. Well, that is Krull in a nutshell. If you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend you see it. If you have seen it, but it's been a while, see it again. This movie's awesome. I love it. And once again, this is Radical Chill Pill, and thank you very much.